Next in orders, we have inpatient medications. For our hospitalized patients, this is very useful. In this test patient, for whatever reason, there are a number of medications that seem to be missing. So we'll simply scroll until we find a random one. We'll say second generation cephalosporin. This patient has an allergy, resulted in blister rash and urticaria. We'll type in a reason, no observed rash reaction to this medication here. Say continue. So this pulls up the medication order menu where we can select from a number of doses, or if it's a medication that has alternative doses that aren't listed, we can type that in and free type what we want. The next part of this is the SIG. We can select BID. I will point out a few different helpful SIGs that we can use. As you can see, you can't see below, and this area designates the administration time. Typically, for a BID medication in this system, it just says not defined for clinic locations, but for a hospitalized patient, this would say 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. For patients on IV diuretics, we want to choose BID diuretics. That would dose at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So we don't want to keep our patients awake at night on their diuretics, right? Make sure we're dosing their afternoon dose earlier. Another option I would point out is the difference between now and once. If there's a medication ordered for once, I would expect that to have a designated administration time that went with it. Now means now, once means at some point, not clear. So if you want the patient to get the medication now, please select now. Below we have indication. So our 100 grams of cefoxitin will give for abscess in the lung. We can provide any comments here. I don't have any comments for this medication, but there may be different reasons. We could say, hold for somnolence or some alternative, hold for X, Y, and Z. Always important for blood pressure to give hold parameters or heart rate to give hold parameters. We can select our priority, ASAP, routine, stat. It's a big dose this patient requires for a big lung abscess, so we're going to give this medicine stat. I will also point out we have complex orders. So this tab allows us to adjust the dose over time, create more complex schedules, things like that. So for instance, if we wanted to taper this medication, the more common example would be a steroid taper with prednisone, but we can start with our BID schedule and just type that in and select it under schedule. And then we can select a duration. So if we click here, we can scroll through. Let's say we want to do 5 days. We say then, or we could say and link to a different schedule, say QHS or at noon or something. We probably wouldn't do it that way. You could say, maybe if we had chosen BID diuretics, then we could say and at night. So that would give an off dosing time 9, 3, and 9 p.m. as opposed to like a TID or a Q8, which would be more spaced apart. But generally, we're more likely to use then here. And so, then maybe we'll say we want to cut the dose in half and do 50 and make it just regular BID. Do that for 5 days. We select then we'll go down to usual 2-gram dose BID for 5 days, then 1 gram BID. You can see as I filled in the last line, it adds a new line as an option. So we'll say 1 gram BID for 5 days. Then again, as soon as I select this, it adds a new line, 1 gram Here we have the incorrect name as opposed to daily. We have Q daily, which is better than QD. And we'll say this is also 5 days and we want to stop. So we put nothing here. So that is how we order a taper in CPRS. We again select our indication for abscess, say hold for somnolence as we previously did. And I will also point out this additional dose now button. So again, unfortunate that we can't see the dosing times based on our schedule. But if you want the patient to get a dose and the dosing time is passed, say it's 11 a.m. and we want to give the 9 a.m. dose of a BID medication as opposed to waiting all the way until 9 p.m., we need to select give a dose now. And this is going to tell us this will usually will alert that you're entering a separate order for the now dose, which is we would just say okay and accept. Let's say okay. This is saying the first dose is going to be the dose from the top line. And then again, we would say accept. I'm going to hold on that for just a minute. We're going to exit out of our complex order. It's going to tell us we'll lose all the data on this screen and we'll say okay, because I wanted to point out one other thing, which is this day of the week schedule. This doesn't create a hand for us to click, but being in blue, you can see that this is in fact a link. So we can select this link. It's going to say we can also select other, that's fine. But this is more sophisticated if we want to create our own custom schedule. So this allows us to completely customize the schedule that our patients get, including being very specific with the dosing times. So we can select every day if we just want to say every day and then give an odd dosing time, 10:45, and say add. If you want to remove something, unfortunately, you have to be clear about what you're removing. So if we had changed the time and say remove, it's not going to remove it from down here. We have to actually go back to 10:45, say remove, then it removes it. Then we can uncheck the certain days that we don't want. Say we wanted this medication to be Tuesday and Thursday, and we wanted to give it at 9:30 and 1:30. That sounds good. So we select the times, we say add, it adds them down here. If you just wanted to do specific days with a standard dose schedule, you would do it this way. So we could remove this, and now this is an option. So now we're doing only Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we select add Tuesdays and Thursdays, BID. I find this more useful for the specific alternate dosing times. So we'll use it this way and say okay. And then of note, we can also combine this with the complex order. So once we have everything selected here, it has our custom schedule. We have to select a route. We have our dose in. Then we go to complex, select OK. Then we can say 2 days of this. Then we want to do 1 gram. And at the bottom here is our custom schedule again. So we can again select that and again select however long and continue from there. Again, we always have our indication, the comments, whether or not we want to dose now, and then our priority, we'll say stat because we really want to get this antibiotic dose in quickly, and we say accept. This may take a second to load because of the complexity. And now you can see that our totally customized antibiotic order is here and available to sign.